Hello, everybody, and welcome to Max Spoilers for Shang-Chi. I am Ben Hansen from MinnMax. MinnMax is a Patreon about games, friends, and getting better. I'm joined by Ross, the Star Wars Guy Fund.
Hello.
Welcome. And Brian Vore. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Now, Brian is going to be helping us out a bit more on the social media front for the next couple of months. So do you think that the tweet that people clicked on to find this video, will you have tweeted that out, Brian?
It's highly likely.
That's very exciting.
Just think about it, people.
Oh my God. How'd your first tweet go from MinnMax? I saw that just went up.
Yeah, really excited about the new technology for some of the older Xbox controllers, that a lot of the fine features of the new Series X controller can now be enjoyed by more and more people.
All right. That's good. That's a fine. I mean, most people just post like a GIF of, I don't know, somebody farting on a cake or something. But this is a fine route if you want to talk about the technology of Xbox controllers.
This is going to be why the tweets about this Max spoilers say join Brian Vore and a couple of other guys,
right?
As they
and
talk
two
about.
Schmucks. Yeah, that is what this is all about. By the way, you can follow MinnMax Show on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. We'd appreciate it. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We're going to spoil the hell out of all of this. So please tune out if you have not seen this film yet. Do not watch or listen to this. If you are watching this and you would like to listen to it in a very convenient podcast form, you can head over to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's and support us over on Patreon to unlock the podcast version of this, as well as the Deepest Dives, as well as MinnMax Council, our Patreon exclusive podcast, early access to the MinnMax Show podcast every single week. And if you support us at any tier, even that $2 tier, you can compete in Trivia Tower, our community trivia show. It's happening this Monday, September 13th at 8 p.m. Central. So you can prove that you know a thing or two about video games, help support independent games media, and you can win some game codes along the way for games like It Takes Two and Aliens Fireteam Elite. We'll have a video going up soon explaining more about what's special about this episode of Trivia Tower, but please jump in and compete. Let us know if you have any questions. All right, all that out of the way. Shang-Chi, not Shang-Chi, Ross. This is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, yes?
That's correct. I had been saying Shang-Chi in my mind for my entire life, so I was glad to be corrected to the proper pronunciation.
Yeah, it's nice that they have a scene in the movie where it's just going back and forth all about the transition of the name Sean to, or I guess from Shang to Sean, just to really drive that into your head that this is how it's pronounced, everybody. Please don't forget.
I kind of thought that.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that maybe Katie Aquafina was just saying Shang the whole time.
Right.
I was just hearing it wrong. But no, it was nice to have an explanation.
Yeah. So Brian and I went and saw this at a late show in Minneapolis here last night. Ross, when did you see the movie?
I saw the movie here in South Minneapolis at our neighborhood theater on Sunday night.
Okay.
And it was a pretty full house, despite some COVID spacing and all that. So it was a big crowd pleaser. But I want to know, did you guys, after you watched that, did you just silently walk separate ways out of the theater so that you could save everything for right now?
Yeah, we did.
That would have been smart.
Well, we talked about some of the reactions in the theater and then talked about the Eternals trailer. But specifically, I did not tip my hand about what I thought about the film, I guess, in that way. But we're talking about like the Eternals trailer that they played before, because I'm still a little worried about Eternals. And like that last trailer in particular, like when it's just exposition dump. And then they have like that joke at the end about the IKEA table. I don't want to be a snob. But I was like, I don't know about that IKEA table joke. I don't know how much the comedy is going to land in this movie. And then in the theater, like people lost it at that IKEA joke when that trailer played. So I'm like, you know what? I'm a fool for doubting Marvel. I'm sure they can turn out or like, pull off the Eternals as well. So I will stop doubting anybody. But yeah, Brian, we didn't talk about the film hardly at all.
No, we talked trailers. I talked about trying to stay awake because it was such a late showing.
So this is the problem. Is throughout the entire film, The entire film, Brian just kept on. I just look over, and it seemed like his eyes were a little bit too closed. And it was a late
Brian
showing.
has been known to fall asleep on a late night. I believe one time he and I were playing Borderlands 2, and he drove his vehicle straight into a rock wall and stayed there because he fell asleep.
It's like, this is the worst note to start out on. Is this guy wasn't even awake during the movie. I think I nudged you enough throughout that I think you managed to stay awake throughout the most of the movie, right?
Yes, and it nothing to do with the content of the movie. I happened to halfway through when I was starting to feel the drowsies come on. I was like, "Oh yeah, my baby woke up at 5 a.m. this morning." We were able to get her back to sleep, but then she was definitely awake at 6 a.m. So it was tough to do the late night one. But next time I'll be sure to bring a coffee or get some nap. But I'm used to watching stuff at home where there's zero consequence to falling asleep on your own couch. And you're like, oh, I'll just, I kind of like that HBO Max, Disney Plus theater at home experience where you can just, oh man, I missed that part. Maybe I should go to sleep and watch this in the morning, or I'll just rewind it 5 minutes and I'll be good.
Yeah, you didn't go back to ask the projectionist to rewind it a little bit?
Can we just...
We
happened to see it on a theater that was on a college campus, I believe. So there was a lot of excited young people there. I don't think any of them got tired at all.
No.
They just have limitless energy.
That's right. Yeah, the way it should be. Okay. Regardless of how tired you were, what'd you think of the movie, Brian, for the parts that you had your eyes open for?
I enjoyed myself, especially the beginning, my friend.
Boy, everything was coming in clear, but then something weird was happening with the camera where there were like two black bars just kind of slowly descending throughout the rest of it. I don't really know.
But I really did like the beginning. Kind of the parts set in the real world, and everyone's kind of more just like, I'm just an average person on the street. And then that kind of jarring like, oh, I want that necklace. You better give it to me. And just kicks off that awesome fight scene in the train and the crazy driving. We've established Awkwafina can do high-speed driving from her little joyride in the valet car.
You got it all.
I just thought the fight scenes were extremely well done, and it was hard for me in a lot of ways to tell the difference between okay, is this like a real martial arts thing with maybe some wire stuff, or is this CG? Like a lot of parts looked so good, I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, and is this Simu Liu or is this his double? They did an amazing job of he could obviously do a fair amount of stuff, and I could not see any seams anywhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, Ross, what did you think about the movie overall?
So I love Marvel stuff and I love martial arts stuff. So this movie I felt like it was aimed squarely at my tastes, and I really, really liked it. So it turned out awesome. I don't know if you guys have tried this. Have you tried making a semicircle behind you with your toe in the sand like Shang learns how to do in this movie? It's really hard.
I think I'd like to try that at some point. It does seem fun. Yeah, yes. I'm with you too. Overall, I really, really, really like this movie. I would say this is scientific. 4 times as much as I thought I would. Going into it, I was like, I don't know about Shang-Chi's personality from the trailers. I don't know how much is coming through. And even stupid stuff they kept showing so many clips of that fight on the bus in the trailers and just spamming YouTube with it. And I was like, this looks good. It looks fine, but I don't know if it's really wowing me. And I was an idiot. I don't know what I was thinking. Because I also had the attitude of well, I don't know. Captain Marvel already fought in a bus. So they're just kind of retreading that ground. But that scene rocked my world. That scene was fantastic. Even the opening scene where you first get to see the dad just go in and use those rings against the army. I was hooked immediately, and so much of it is just the rings themselves. Undoubtedly the coolest weapon in the MCU. I am still fascinated. It's rare to leave a movie and just want to see more of what one weapon can do. But they're so creative. Every single move they do, I'm just on the edge of my seat. What can these things do? They're just incredible to watch.
It was so well conceived, how he would, when Wu would smack off the ground to launch himself up into the air. But then also when I'm like, how's he going to land? He's just a normal dude. No, he smacks the ground again to like slow him down to land. It was like, you could tell they put a ton of thought into that stuff.
Yeah, it's so creative because, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody. This is what YouTube's here for. But in the comics, they're like literally rings, right? And so to change it up in this big way to make them like armbands, I don't know what the precedent is for this, but it's so wild to watch.
Yeah, they're literally rings. I mean, that character, the Mandarin of the comics, had to be changed, in some very, very significant ways just to bring it up to speed for where we're at in the year 2021.
Right. Yeah, great stuff.
And also, he's kind of like, that's combined with Shang-Chi's father in the comics, who is not the Mandarin, who is like Fu Manchu, like a, kind of a yellow peril, racist caricature type character historically. So the way that they synthesized all these things together to make the interesting character was super good. I was not familiar with Tony Leung, the actor, apparently a Hong Kong megastar.
Yeah, like that is the biggest takeaways. I've seen a lot of people who are much smarter about film than I am just being like, about damn time the Western world has introduced this guy. He is so good. And like, again, I'm very naive, but like looking through, it's like, okay, he was in Infernal Affairs. At least I've heard of that because it's like what The Departed was based on and stuff. Like, but that's a sad sign when that's like my biggest connection to this actor, who obviously is great. His action scenes were great. If anybody has a recommendation out there for the number one Tony Leung film to watch, I would be very interested.
Yeah, he was great because he could handle action and fighting, but he could also make you be like, oh, I kind of sympathize with this guy. Oh, I hate this guy. He could just take you wherever he wanted.
Yeah,
and he's excellent.
For sure, and especially coming off of Loki, which we talked about it a lot on here, just the idea of I always want to feel what it's like when you're an immortal being or you've lived for thousands of years. And I don't know how much I felt it with him. Like, he wasn't really like a fully shattered human being, which I think he would be after 1,000 years. But at the same time, like, his love for his wife, I feel like came through so beautifully and so well and so much better than Loki falling in love and the little love affair, for at least for me in that show. But like, that was such a strong point for this film, was the connection between those two. And it's like, oh, they didn't have that much time to establish it, and it just nails it.
Yeah, I won't hear any bad talk about Loki, but I did really like this relationship.
I really like that opening fight scene that he has with his future wife, and then the way she ends it is just by like, she could have just knocked him on the ground, but she purposely lifts him and takes him over to the tiniest little pool and dunks his ass.
Yeah, it's really perfect. Like, I was still... Maybe I just need to watch it again, but there are some things about like, what are the moves that she's doing that the aunt is then teaching Shang-Chi how to do? I was missing like some of that outside of like the obvious, like use the wind and open your hands, don't have a fist. It's like, okay, there's some details there that I feel like on repeated watchings you can pick up more.
Yeah, for sure. I think the open hand was a big element of it. And that's just one of those like martial arts movie type of things that I love, where he's like fighting with the closed fist and she teaches him to open the hand, and then he's like, it's like represents him accepting himself, and then he is the true master. It's fantastic. And
then he fights and he uses the perfect fusion of his father's techniques and his mother's techniques to save the day and take down everything big and evil in that second half.
Yeah, I love that he did have enough time with that final attack he did on the soul sucker or the soul eater or whatever it was. He like did an entire like kata routine essentially in the air before exploding it. Just love it.
As Awkwafina calls it later on. I think it was her, right, that calls it the Kamehameha move, which is wonderful as a big Dragon Ball fan. Like, oh man, they're mentioning Dragon Ball in MCU. That's so crazy. Obviously, let's see, 1,000 different places we could go. I mean, Awkwafina, Disney is fully on board with Awkwafina at this point, and it super works. Like, I thought she was absolutely great, but like, she was obviously in Raya. And then I forgot about this detail, but she's going to be playing Scuttle in Little Mermaid, like the seagull. We're like, yeah,
wow.
That sounds fun. I am very on board for that. She got to say the word vagina in a Marvel film. Like, she's really breaking a lot of new ground here.
It really is. I really loved her in Raya, and it was cool to see her kind of play a role. Like, it doesn't fully get romantic. They're just kind of platonic friends.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing, is that they just... I don't know if they were going out of their way and having the grandma be like, oh, when are you two going to get married? And he's like, oh, no, we're just friends, as a way of setting up for where the relationship can go, or just as a way to like reaffirm to the audience, just so you know, they're just best buddies. And now they're going to be going on missions together, solely as platonic buddies.
Yeah, you need to give those shippers some meat to chew on, I think.
Right. Okay, in your prediction, do you feel like within the next 10 years of the MCU, they will be a hot, wedded couple?
Ooh, yeah. Let's say why not? Yes, let's get a little romantic entanglements on both sides during Shang-Chi 2 to drive the wedge in there, and then they can come together strong. But yeah, just with Awkwafina being in everything, I did like how at the end of this movie and then the mid-credits scene, they were like, "Don't worry, she is coming with him on everything that he is gonna do. Right. She will be there." Yeah,
that was really interesting. It's like, okay, she's great at shooting that one arrow. She really did a great job learning that and driving very fast. And so the Avengers need her. It's like, it seems very different from the way other MCU characters have been treated. Of like, yeah, forget all your friends. We just want you.
Do you think Wong was like, Hawkeye's getting a little old, so maybe she could be our bow and arrow person?
Yeah, I do like how she definitely calls out like, I was just practicing for this for one day, and I got the perfect arrow shot and saved the day.
Yeah.
Like,
by the way, if I could change one thing about this movie, it would be when she makes that amazing shot to save the day, and the dragon comes down and looks at her. That if that dragon had gone.
Yeah, her a little
nice
nod.
10 of 10, 100 of 10 from me.
Right.
I was waiting for that, or just like a little wink.
Yeah, I mean, I loved so much of this movie. I feel like the structure of it works really well. The jokes work so much better than I was expecting. I feel like it really hit hard in the theater throughout the entire thing. And that's still the amazing part about Marvel. And every time I start to doubt Marvel, it's just like, no, they can pull off a story and an interconnected story, and also minute-to-minute jokes. We will make every joke land. It is just mind-boggling to me that they can pull all this stuff off. Like, just the little things. The first one that really got me, I think, is after the big bus scene when she's, like, rammed up along, was it the trolley car then? And they stop at the end, and she like, leans out, and she's like, we're like partners! Like, that one, never could have thought of that joke. That's so bizarre. Absolutely love it. And then like on the plane, like the whole veggie or beef thing that just like went on for so long. It's like, all right.
Yeah, the big interruption of his like super serious backstory.
Right. Yeah, it just works so incredibly well. And I feel like maybe some of the comedy trails off in the back half of the movie a little bit as it kind of turns into big CG palooza. But yeah, I thought the jokes overall were fantastic.
Yep, I love the one where she starts training with the bow and arrow. She makes one good shot and she looks over and she's like, how about that, Guangbo? And he's like,
I do like too how they're able to like pull off things that no one else really can do. They're like, oh hey, it'd be neat as if we had Ben Kingsley pulled him in, and then we can kind of smooth out some of that Iron Man 3 stuff that we did, and kind of set it on the correct course. And then he's not just like a cameo that was like, oh, hey guys, and, explained away. It's just like, he's in it for, he's in it for the rest of the movie for fun.
Yeah, for sure. Like I obviously you think like, okay, would they ever pull him back in for this movie? I don't know if they revealed it in some spot that I missed out on, but it's weird to get this kind of set up in a weird way where going on Disney Plus, like they were really promoting like the Marvel one shot with Ben Kingsley in it where he's in prison after Iron Man 3. I'm like, okay. The fact that they're like, hey, get ready for Shang-Chi, watch this one spot. It's like, okay, I know what's going to be coming up in this movie. But yeah, super fun. The audience loved it. And then like even when he started to lose his charm and appeal, then I think he completely made up for it with his final scene where he was saying to his little animal buddy that he was just playing dead. Like that joke again, completely killed in the theater.
Yeah. I think the thing that got maybe the biggest laugh in the theater is when he's talking about the apes and how it's just acting and whatever.
Planet of the Apes, yeah.
People were going nuts for that.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, they're acting like they're on the horses. Yeah, it was fantastic. It's like, hey, good for Ben Kingsley, because it's been a while since he had a role that people were into. Am I forgetting something? Iron Man 3 was probably the last time everybody culturally said, hey, way to go, Ben Kingsley. But yeah, super fun to see him, and the fact that he has that important role, of like actually being the translator for this bizarre creature. The animals in this film, I would love if there is like a breakdown of kind of the mythology and inspirations for a lot of these animals, because that was something that I wasn't expected either, is to have it basically be like going to Pandora when they go to this other land. Like every single creature is just so wild to look at.
Yeah, my understanding is that they're all, based on actual mythology. Like, I think we've probably all seen like a fox with whatever 8 or 9 tails or whatever.
We've played with Pokemon and Ninetales, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, but the fact that they picked the weirdest one, to me anyway, the one with like no face or whatever, to be like the cute, cuddly, sidekick type thing was fantastic.
Yeah,
he was like a little ottoman with wings or something. It was like, but it was cool to see stuff like those lions that you normally see in like 2D like old art,
right? And
to see that kind of brought to life for the first time, because a lot of CG stuff has more been traditionally like Jurassic Park dinosaurs and a King Kong gorilla, like to see something more in this art style was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And the weird forest that's cutting you off as you go and stuff. Like there's so many wild ideas in this movie, but I definitely really, really enjoyed the opening and its classic Marvel origin story of just, I was watching the scenes of him like interacting with Katie's family in the apartment and stuff, and just realizing we're never going to see this again. Like we need to savor this super small scale Shang-Chi while we have it, like him actually walking around the streets, interacting with grandmas, because from now on, he's just going to be fighting CG monsters. Like that's as grounded as we're going to see this guy. So hope you enjoyed it, everybody.
Yeah, were you guys surprised that the family didn't come back in at all at some point? I was like, oh, okay, we're introducing all these characters. I better keep everybody straight and remember what their deal is.
Yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe they're saving it for sequels or saving it for some connection in the future, because yeah, I'm sure it seems like this movie's doing well so far. I'm sure they'll want to keep it rolling in some way, including like the post-credits teaser. Ross, what did you make of that when it said the 10 rings will return?
That's kind of funny, and it's kind of like a classic, setup for drama in the future. Like I was kind of surprised. I thought that his sister was like all good with them now. They had their moment on the dragon that resolved their issue, where she was like, "You got to let me go," and he was like, "No, I won't let you go."
Right.
And so they're like, "Oh, we do love each other. It's great." So to see her go from that and like a hero of this battle to be like, now I am sitting on the throne. I do love a good throne sitting scene like that, but it was
very Boba Fett.
Surprising, and I'm glad. I was kind of shocked that Razor Fist survived this whole movie and still going strong. Good for him.
Yeah, it definitely helps to
Razor
learn.
Fist was my biggest shock. Like I was like, oh, this is a weird. I mean, I'm sure he's definitely has to be a real comic book character.
Yeah.
But like the first time I saw him, like, oh, look at this dope, he's gonna die immediately, and like he just was one of the main characters. Like, and he even like did a little blade change, to adapt to the situation.
He's got the dragon armor upgrade, cool thing. Yeah, it's like he's too
so many lines.
He's got a car with a custom paint job and a custom license plate, which is fantastic.
I feel like we need that for a lot of MCU characters at this point. Things are getting too complicated. I want every character to only have a vehicle with their name all over it, so we can try and remember what to look up later to see, oh yeah, is Razor Fist from the comics? Okay, got it.
Like the Thanos copter, right?
Exactly. Is it too much to ask for everybody to have their own Thanos copter? Exactly.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that maybe Katie would get back in the Razor Fist mobile during that final battle, but she still made her mark with the arrows.
So, I mean, it's a little unclear, I guess, if it's just a clear line of the sister is evil again. I think it's more so that she just wants power and wants to run things. And so she's kind of going to be running the 10 rings in a kind of a gray zone is kind of how I read it. I don't know. But I certainly read it as that seems like it's primed for a Disney Plus show. Because they're not saying Shang-Chi will return. The fact that they went out of their way to say the 10 rings will return, that feels just set up as can be.
That's a great point. Yeah, and they definitely underwent like a huge visual rebranding. So
That's right. Get the weird graffiti up there and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and now ladies are equally represented. Like it was like in a half and half training courtyard
Yeah.
where she was kind of not allowed.
Yeah, they did it.
The previous incarnation. But yeah, she could, use this force for good or evil. Like it's not entirely clear right now.
Yeah. Her action scenes were fantastic. Help me out. What is the name of the weapon? The ropey spear thing?
Ooh, I don't know what that is, but I love it.
It was very fun to watch every fight with her. Chopping down trees, all that fun stuff, all the good training in there. It's excellent.
Yeah, you guys touched on this, but like the action in this movie is like top tier of Marvel. Like,
yeah, there's no comparison.
All that stuff. The bus scene, like you guys were saying, is like maybe a top 3 for me for Marvel action scenes. It's like that perfect like Spielberg type of scene where things escalate and more things start going wrong and it gets more and more complicated. Yeah, just couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, I saw people, tweeting ahead of time like, oh, it's the best action in a Marvel film. And I was like, okay, we'll see. I mean, after seeing, there's zero competition. Like nothing. Like this is absolutely a lock on the action front. It's so fun to watch for so many of these scenes, including the big. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys like watched a lot of stuff going into it, but I was kind of under the impression, like, okay, are there many superpowers in this? I mean,
right?
How can you have a Marvel movie with very limited, with just like really cool fight scenes, but how is it going to stand out as a Marvel movie? And of course, the Ten Rings, as you guys said, looked really awesome, and they could do like so much on offense and defense. But did you guys watching the movie? Did you think like, oh man, a Ten Rings game would be so fun? Like thinking of all the combos you could unlock and like
when they're swinging them around, it does kind of feel like Kratos' weapons. When they're just flinging them around, it's like, okay, is that the kind of mold that I'm trying to fit this into in my mind just for trying to understand what these things are capable of? And so, yeah, totally. It seems combo prolific.
Traversal would be so much fun with those.
That is true. Doing the cool float thing, all that stuff. And also when they're spinning around in front of you, it kind of looks like Sonic's rings. So they have that video game connection right there, ready to go. The action scene with the big fight in the arena where you first meet the sister and the very confusing matchup between our old boy Abomination and Wong, which was exciting when we saw that in the trailer. So Abomination's like cool now, or what? What's the read on that?
I did not understand totally what was happening there. Did they have a scam running? Were they like, yeah.
So it seems like maybe as a way for Wong just to make some money on the side, he's recruited Abomination, and people are saying that like, oh, it kind of looks like he's bringing him back to like a prison. So that's like the agreement is like he'll let Abomination out of a prison if he then agrees to lose a fight or something so they can make money on the other side of the world. I don't know what Wong is up to. He's, especially when like in that trailer for Spider-Man where he's off on some other thing. Like he's got some side games cooking here. I don't know what's going on.
Is he kind of serving like the new Coulson role for phase 3 or whatever we're on right now of Marvel, phase 4?
Ooh, interesting.
Remember Coulson would show up in phase 1 and kind of connect everybody together. And it seems like maybe Wong is kind of the directing traffic a little bit or something. Yeah,
especially I'm sure Samuel L. Jackson's getting up there. Who knows how much longer he'll be around in the MCU. Like that's probably true. He just seems like this smart, level-headed guy that is trying to get stuff done here.
And having teleportation powers really helps your ability to kind of bring a team together, right?
Oh yeah. God, what I thought about that really helps their situation is like for the first post-credits scene where we get Banner and Captain Marvel. It's like that is the greatest idea for these cameos is just to have like the blue hologram thingy. So all these actors, no matter where they are in the world, filming whatever, can just jump on a green screen for a bit to film their cameo for the MCU. Like it's such a brilliant way to have that, but not need everybody in the same room together for all that stuff. I was trying to figure out why is he not Smart Hulk anymore? Why is it back to Bruce Banner with his arm in a sling?
That is a great question, and I've seen other people ask about that. Like clearly he's still like injured forever from the Infinity Gauntlet, right?
Yeah, I love that idea.
That was like Thanos had that when they went and killed Thanos at the start of Endgame. The Thanos who had done the snap was all messed up too. So yeah, it makes me wonder, is like he gonna do any hulking out anymore, or is he just kind of like a guy on the side doing some science now?
Yeah, I don't know. There was a theory on Reddit that maybe it connects to She-Hulk. Like in order to donate blood to create She-Hulk, he had to transform back to Banner because you couldn't penetrate Hulk's skin or whatever with a needle. Where it's like, that seems likely, I guess. But yeah, I'm curious to see when he's in She-Hulk if he's going to be in Hulk form, or I guess it's cheaper just to do good old Bruce Banner boy walking up there.
Yeah, and then that way he can be like, we need a Hulk in this world, She-Hulk. You gotta be the Hulk.
Right. Ooh, actually, that's pretty smart. Like if he can't turn back, it's kind of like a one-way trip or something. Yeah, I think that's pretty likely.
That would be cool. And the She-Hulk is earlier next year, or is it still?
I don't know if it started filming yet. I think there's going to be several Disney Plus series before that one, at least. Like Ms. Marvel's coming before that, I think. Hawkeye, obviously.
Yep. So it looks like 2022 for She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel and Moon Knight, and then Hawkeye is November. Jeez, Hawkeye's coming up faster than I thought. That's wild. What did y'all make?
Do you guys think Captain Marvel's emergency was like a big thing that we're gonna like see in Captain Marvel 2 or Miss Marvel, or is it just gonna be like a standard save, some corner of the universe? It's just an average Tuesday for her.
I bet it's going to be something that, like, if we read in between the lines, it's like, oh, this is her going on some big, like the opening set piece mission for the Marvels. Is that the name of that next one? I bet it'll be a thing of like, okay, if you want to connect the dots, that in theory could be what she was going away to.
Okay, I think it's going to be the other thing. I think that they just try very hard to establish that Captain Marvel has a ton on her plate and she's always flying off to different planets to do stuff, so that you cannot say, well, Captain Marvel should just show up and fix this problem.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It would be fun, if the opening was...
That is the new thing about this latest wave. It's like Captain Marvel and the Eternals is like, you always have to devote time in each movie to be like, well, why didn't you help with this huge problem we had with the Thanos snap? And,
yeah,
they always have to be like, well, I'm very busy and I have this over here. And
yeah, hey, Eternals, why don't you go stare at this gate, this scary gate that whispers to people? Like, it's such a crazy idea. Like, that those people have just been in there for generations and generations, just trying to hold back this one gate in this other realm that I guess you couldn't see it from space. No satellite imagery allowed. It's too magical.
Yeah, I think it's like a parallel dimension. And,
okay.
I have no fan theory myself for how it relates to the multiverse or anything, but I think they like went through like a gate or a portal or something, and they're in like a fantastic realm. Right.
Yeah, with that Brie Larson cameo at the end, I just learned that there's this connection here where the director of Shang-Chi, Destin Daniel Cretton.
Yep.
He also directed a short term 12 with Brie Larson.
Did you guys see that movie?
Yeah, it's great.
Yes, I was shocked when I realized that was the same person who did Shang-Chi. I mean, it's such a different movie, but it is totally, totally fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's like, okay, I'm glad that maybe it's this connection, or maybe it's just now that Captain Marvel's a little more established, but like even I feel like in this tiny cameo in this movie, it's like she already has more personality than like in the Avengers films, where I feel like she was just so flat because we already talked about it before, but the filming thing where they had to have her film a thing before she had to develop the movie and stuff. So I'm excited to see like her get more and more dynamic and fun as time moves on. But what did y'all think about the origins of the rings? What are they teasing about it sending out the beacon?
Yeah, the big thing is they're sending a beacon to who knows what, some maybe aliens, some ancient race or species. Like, who are they calling to? Yeah. And have they just been doing this for 1,000 years, or is it just when Shang-Chi took control of them? Maybe
like every time it transfers hands or something, it gets called out.
Oh.
Maybe something like that. Yeah, Edgar Vasquez watching us live at the Backstage Pass tier on Patreon. Hello, Edgar. Says maybe it's the Eternals. Maybe, or maybe like in the trailer, it seemed like the Eternals are taking their cues from the Celestials And so maybe there's some connection there, but it's probably setting something up even bigger than that.
Yeah, and we're also, with Fantastic Four for sure happening at some point. We're also at a point where, like, anytime there's a mysterious beacon summoning something, people are going to be like, it's Galactus. It's for sure Galactus.
Right.
I have no idea if that's true, but that's going to be like a top level theory until it actually happens.
For sure, yeah. And so in the beginning, they say that the rings were formed, or like, the legend says that they came from a crater or a tomb or something. So, like, okay, so if it's a crater, then they are from outer space. That seems to make more sense. That's where they found these mysterious things. Let's see. Other things we haven't talked about? Anything in anybody's mind?
Yeah, I want to just do a shout out to the bamboo scaffolding fight. That's kind of like a classic martial arts go-to from like Once Upon a Time in China. Rush Hour 2 is probably where like a lot of people have seen that type of thing, but it's always good. I was shocked to find out that like bamboo scaffolding is a real thing.
Really?
Like it's not just a movie prop. It's it's a real thing, but it's perfect for crazy movements, swinging around, fighting.
It's good. Let's see. Little tidbits I want to express thanks for. I thought the dragon reveal scene was so cool, and a lot of that comes from the soundtrack. It was so subdued and so quiet in what could have been like this huge bombastic moment. Basically, the score when they're coming through the portals in Endgame. But like, go back and watch that scene. Like, it is just like the most tranquil soundscape as Shang-Chi is riding this dragon out there for the big triumphant, we've got a dragon on our side moment. It was so cool.
Overall, the sound design was fantastic. The sound of the rings, I don't know, it's just from being in the theater for the first time forever, but the sound of the rings flying around you or like, ringing or clanging into stuff just felt so satisfying. And I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but when he was like punching that forbidden door and all like the going up the scales and all the stuff was flying out, something was just really satisfying about that. And I was like, let him keep punching it. I don't care what comes out of there. I just want to keep experiencing this.
Does anybody really understand what that thing was, by the way? The big Death Eater? Like, I know it's the classic Marvel critique now is big CG action piece at the end, but this is one of those where it's like, it was cool to see it suck souls out. I like that because I like Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within and seeing people get their souls sucked out. But when he's like sucking the dragon's soul out of his mouth like it's a straw and stuff, but at the same time after that movie, I was like, wait, what was that thing? What is the takeaway? It's just big scary demon thing. You should not want it on Earth. The end.
Yeah, I left the movie wondering if that was also inspired by actual mythology, and it's something that I am just not familiar with myself. It seemed like it could have been, but I really have no idea. It was sufficiently gross looking, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, indeed. I got to say I'm impressed with the power of those things to regenerate. Like, the fact that it's like, hey, we should team up. Nah, I think we got this. And then, like, they just, like, slice and dice it, and it's just, like, repairs like 30 times faster than Wolverine, and he's like, okay, let's team up. This is bad news. But that was really cool. I want to say one note is I really love Simu Liu's balls in 2018 when he was like, hey, Marvel, let's talk. Are you gonna talk or what? And he ends up just totally being cast. Like, I love that. And like, the fan movement for Rosario Dawson, I just love like social media casting and when it comes together and just works out.
And works out super well. Yeah. And he can pull off action this well, like, speaking multiple languages. Like, that is a tough role to pull off and to look that good. Like, I love that first scene where he comes out and he doesn't have his shirt on and Awkwafina like is reacting like, oh, damn. But then she has that moment too of like, where's your shirt? He's like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening here.
I love that thing where they just take on the tropes where it's like, look, he did all this work. Give him some shirtless time.
Right,
we're going to call it out and make fun of it, but it's fine. Everybody needs it. It's like it was just in his like tank top and jacket the whole time after all that hard work. It's like it's almost a waste, right?
You're right.
Yeah,
right.
It's kind of, it reminds me of that very gratuitous scene of Peter Quill in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie where he's like getting water sprayed on him or whatever and he's shirtless, and it's just to show Chris Pratt's bodacious bod.
I'm confused about the timeline. I know the Marvel timeline is always a mess to talk about, but correct me if I'm wrong, he was talking about being in high school when Gangnam Style came out, right? Because people were making fun of him and calling him, hey, Gangnam Style. That came out in 2013. So how old is Shang-Chi supposed to be here? In real life, the actor is 32, apparently. And I know that, oh God, help me out, but what, timeline-wise, we're 2025? Or where are we post-Endgame now?
Oh, that's right, because the snap, like, we move 5 years into the future, right?
Right.
So he could be like 30-ish then, I guess?
Okay, I guess.
Because he's got to be a little older for it to make sense that people are giving him and Katie crap for not doing anything with their lives.
Right. Yeah, maybe late 20s is kind of where they're trying to peg him. Okay, is that time? I can't do the math. People in the comments, please do the Marvel math for me with Gangnam Style. The other thing that stood out to this movie, to me about this movie, is I thought it was funny that they had their big triumphant return of Hotel California at the end for like the karaoke song. It's like, oh, it's so funny because the last MCU movie, Black Widow, like American Pie was like the big callback song. And now it's just like, let's just slip in as much classic rock. That's what the MCU is all about, is callbacks to classic rock. Here we go. But it was fun. That was a great moment. Like the theater loved that twist too, of Wong being so serious than just jump cutting to ridiculous karaoke.
Yeah, super effective needle drop.
Needle drop. I feel like I like this movie a lot. I did have a lot of thoughts during it of, if I saw this movie as a kid, it would have blown my frickin' mind. Like this would have been up there for like my favorite movies I'd ever seen if I was a kid. 'Cause just, I think a lot of it comes from just the creative action and the rings and just imagining what those can do. But in the same way that, you know, something like Crouching Tiger blew my mind. What was that? I guess like early high school or something for me. Like I think this is going to open a lot of people's eyes to a whole new world of cinema. It's cool thing.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, yeah, thinking to when I was a kid, we didn't get any kind of like cool martial arts stuff. Like this is so, like, the choreography and the performers are so good at it. Like there was nothing 5% this good that was easily available in the United States when we were kids in, you know, early, mid, late 80s or whenever.
Right. That eventually we had The Matrix. Thank God. giving us a taste of what was possible. Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember Rumble in the Bronx coming out in the US when I was like, I don't know, like 13 or so. And I was just like, I cannot believe what I am seeing here.
That's awesome. It's really...
Yeah, we just grew up seeing so much, just like, all right, now I'm gonna punch you, and oh, now you're punching me, and now, you know, like
there's
maybe
no
a neck snap
creativity
here and there, but
yeah,
just the crazy choreography and just seeing it all in the context of a superhero movie with a crazy budget. You know, obviously there's tons of great, you know, Eastern martial arts movies that have been around, but just seeing it brought into the mainstream, getting that full representation. I mean, it's got to be. I've seen a lot of social posts from.
Hang on, Brian. Okay, you cut out. You said I've seen a lot of cool social posts from. Bleh.
Oh, you know, just from like Asian viewers that have just like, God, it's so cool to finally see this kind of representation on screen, and just like, oh man, it would have been so cool when I was a kid to see something like this, and just imagining, you know, kids seeing it now and seeing that kind of what's possible, and it's not. You know, it's just really cool to see. Yeah, and even with we're talking with Wong, like having Doctor Strange not being like the final like reveal, like, oh, now here's my boss. You know, like he gets to kind of have that role of like the authoritative figure. Yeah, definitely. I'm sure these people exist. I'm glad that I have not stumbled across too many pieces of crap on the internet complaining about this movie in any way. But I'd imagine there's people out there like, oh, they just made this to appeal to China, of course, with the big market, cash in, like every corporation is. But that's what blows my mind, is that this is not allowed in China. Like the government came down and was like, no go. It is mind-boggling, that idea that this movie will not be seen in China, at least anytime soon.
Wow, I actually didn't know that about it. Was there any reasoning given, or just, you know, it's an American thing?
Let's see. Chinese government Shang-Chi.
I think a lot of Marvel movies have done very well over there. I wonder if it's maybe some of the I don't know if they feel like some cultural stuff they didn't agree with some of it, or some of the mystical elements. I don't know.
It says, Newsweek says there is no official explanation for the Chinese government's current refusal to release the movie, although observers say the country's political sensitive regulators have likely taken issue with Shang-Chi's source material because of its racial stereotypes and stuff.
Ooh.
Okay, I guess if you're diving into conceptually the history of something, even though feels like they course corrected pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree that there's some hugely problematic elements of the source material, but that's like part of the point of this movie is to course correct, like you said.
Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out, but looking forward to watching this one again. It's another lesson to never doubt Marvel. And I will try and remind myself of that lesson as I'm going to see Eternals, because there's a chance. I think there's the highest chance in a long time Eternals could be a somewhat misstep. I'm feeling it in my gut, but I've been wrong over and over and over again. So we'll see how it goes. Let's see. Ross, anything you want to plug, man?
Follow me at Are You Bad Enough? And if you like martial arts, I post plenty of old karate magazine covers. So,
all right, great. Brian,
I liked your
man?
Michelle Yeoh cover. That was nice.
I got another one on tap from Inside Karate Magazine from like 1992 or something.
Nice. That sounds great. Brian, you got anything to plug?
Well, you can follow me on at Brian_Vore on Twitter, and also follow the MinnMax channels because I'll be having fun over there too.
All right. That sounds great. Please do. And again, thank you for supporting. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this type of content, you can support it or join it by going to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Jump in for just $2. That's less than the price of a cup of coffee, and compete in Trivia Tower this Monday. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments below about how that whole thing works. What we'd love to have you there. All right. We'll see you next time for New Max Spoilers. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.
Hey.
Content like this exists because of you. Thank you so much for subscribing on YouTube, sharing it with a friend, and especially for supporting MinnMax on Patreon. Supporters at any tier on Patreon unlock access to MinnMax's Discord, the friendliest place on the internet, where you can compete in game trivia every month to win prizes with our show Trivia Tower. Thanks so much for watching and sharing our stuff, everybody.